Hello, Crossworth here. Before I am telling the recap of Operation Solar Flare started, I had to put some disclaimer and a few context of these story. Some people aren't aware that they stick to the IRL scenario logic, while ignoring some event that happens in the Cedar world, especially Nox. People often forget it's a different universe, with technology much more advanced in that year, such as the regular tech is about 10 years ahead, while the space tech is about 20 to 30 years ahead. For example, the Tharsis X starship is already a thing around the year 2000. Alright, let's get back to the operation. Operation Solar Flare, set in an alternative timeline, and different from the main codename Cedar timeline. A timeline where on the 29th of August, 1993, Yakovsky was shot by warrant officer instead of helping him, preventing the Union from collapsing into a civil war. But an unprecedented social catastrophe also occurred, but the flames of war continued to burn in another form. Some disclaimer also. Yakovsky is the leader of the Union of Phalanstry Socialist Republic, and he's probably a combination of Mikhail Gorbachev, Alexander Yakovlev, and Boris Yeltsin. After the death of Yakovsky, the Entente conducted sanctions against the Union, such as financial restrictions were imposed, an oil embargo was imposed, and all space cooperation projects were cancelled, making the Union in a very weak state. They also evacuated a large number of residents from special political unit areas, moved in many troops, and conducted a large number of reconnaissance flights on the Union air defense zone under the guise of air transport. I'm not exactly sure why Entente started this war, but in my theory is that the Entente wanted to reclaim Eastern territory, weaken the Union politically and economically, and use its military superiority to achieve a quick victory.
Nous nous sommes préparés pour cette bataille. Une bataille qu'ils attendaient depuis longtemps. Les Vespucciens sont convaincus du succès de leur plan. L'embargo s'est révélé suffisamment efficace pour les affaiblir. Bientôt, nous porterons un message jusqu'au cœur de l'Union. Déchirez leur pays et laissez-le se vider de son sang de l'intérieur.
The Entente offensive started on 30 March in '94, where the Entente Organization multinational force were deployed and made the Union and Osterheim troops 50 to 100 kilometers within 72 hours by the superior Entente. As the last turn of the tide of war, the Union and Osterheim will conduct a counteroffensive to Haringen Valley through Erfurt, and most of us know it as a Fulda Gap. This operation is called Operation Solar Flare, and the 501st Long-Range Reconnaissance Team will be the vanguard, who will be the first to penetrate the Schmalkalden territory to infiltrate behind enemy lines. However, in the night of 2 April 1994, the multinational force launched a massive tactical nuclear strike against Osterheim and the Union force rear. The Union urgently activate the space-based defense system Zenith Shield without any preliminary testing, and 7 hours remaining until Operation Solar Flare begin. The story begins in one of the occupied towns of Osterheim. Soldiers of the Schmalkalden Defense Force were busy replacing road signs. They thought the war would soon end in their victory. But the officers and soldiers of the 501st Long-Range Reconnaissance Patrol, with their BRM 1K, accidentally crushed the soldier. Erica was surprised and excited because of the enemy she accidentally crushed. Then Sylvia thought that they're the only unit left, believing that the missile kept roaring in the sky, pointing at the base and the rendezvous rear. But the warrant officer says otherwise, since the Union missile and space technology is more advanced than the Entente. This also means the Union missile interception technology is more advanced, and they don't need to worry too much for the main force. Then Sylvia says that the radio channels are all quiet, and thought this is from the effect of nuclear detonation. Warrant officer explained that the earliest Zenith Shield system satellite all uses nuclear weapons. This could be the intercepting munitions airburst effect. Even though it is incompatible with space demilitarization principles, these satellites were deployed before the Outer Space Treaty was signed. Erica then explains that 501st Long-Range Reconnaissance Patrol will infiltrate deep behind enemy lines, 6 hours ahead of the main offensive. Once the attack begins, they will conduct reconnaissance on enemy and territory in the bad Liebenstein-Geisa direction by any means necessary. Hannah then appears saying that the vehicle guidance system reconnaissance area map setup complete, initialization of coordination confirmed, vehicle is ready to go. Julius then responds to be wary of radioactive readings while on the move. Ensure none of our reconnaissance path is in a known contaminated zone, though the enemy had deployed nuclear weapons first, because they may employ measured retaliation at any moment. As they're going to continue the mission, Sylvia asked about this operation. Since the enemy initiating conventional warfare is obviously baiting them into assembling, they can get the most out of nuclear weapons that way. Then we wouldn't need this Operation Solar Flare. One nuclear bomb can kill several 100,000 people. Julius responds that a nuclear bomb can only kill several 100,000 civilians in cities against a modern military with the protection of armored vehicles while sufficiently spread out. It won't achieve much devastating effect. Then the warrant officer told everyone to stop all the argument, as another tactical missile launched by the multinational force started to ascend to the sky. They quickly rushed to the vehicle and started their mission on Operation Solar Flare. The scene begins with the 501st Long-Range Reconnaissance Patrol's BRM-1K reaching the edge of a forest. From their concealed position, the team observes numerous Entente vehicles and tanks moving along the main road. Julius remarks that the Union's recent tactical airstrike appears to have caused surprisingly little damage. The warrant officer explains that Union air power is deliberately designed to limit collateral damage and avoid residential areas whenever possible. Erica questions why they should continue worrying about civilian casualties when the Entente has already used nuclear weapons against Union territory. Sylvia rejects her argument, insisting that the Union must not abandon its own moral standards simply because the enemy has done so. Julius then announces that their next task is to conduct reconnaissance of the Territorial Reserve Forces. Erica suggests stopping the BRM-1K undercover and conducting a short observation from the vehicle. Julius rejects the idea, ordering the crew to conceal the vehicle deeper in the woods, shut down the engine, and continue the reconnaissance on foot. Erica questions the decision, arguing that approaching the enemy by vehicle is standard reconnaissance procedure. The warrant officer explains that such procedures are outdated in the current battlefield environment. The enemy's thermal imagers would easily detect a running vehicle. The scene changes to a nearby town occupied by Schmalkalden forces. A convoy of Leopard 2, of 4 tanks, passes through the town. The camera focuses on Felice speaking with a male Vespuccian officer, while a Schmalkalden soldier stands nearby. Erica makes a cynical remark about Felice, speculating about her relationship with the Vespuccian officer, and suggesting that Vespuccian officers probably have wives waiting for them back home. Sylvia criticizes Erica for judging someone without knowing the circumstances. Erica explains that, in her view, this behavior reflects how some Schmalkalden women present themselves around occupation forces, normally dressing conservatively, but changing their appearance when dealing with foreign soldiers. Sylvia challenges Erica's stereotypes, arguing that the Westerners she sees are not behaving as Erica describes. Erica counters that Sylvia tends to idealize Western culture and looks down on people who have not attended college. Their argument is interrupted by the warrant officer, who reminds them that they are in the middle of a war and should not waste their attention discussing what ordinary civilians choose to wear. As the tank convoy disappears, 3 B-1 bombers fly over the town at low altitude. Julius initially believes they are conducting a deep penetration mission, operating farther behind the front than conventional tactical aircraft. He suspects their target is a staging area somewhere inside Union territory. The warrant officer identifies the aircraft as the newly introduced B-1 Lancer and speculates that they may be carrying nuclear weapons. Unfortunately, the team's radio is already malfunctioning, preventing them from reporting the sighting. The team then continues its reconnaissance, and encounters an Entente farewell ceremony taking place in the town. Julius is surprised to see the gathering even providing free beer. Hannah remembers a small tavern in her hometown and wonders whether it has survived the war, since it was located close to military targets. She wishes their communications equipment were functioning so they could report the relaxed Entente gathering and potentially call in a frontline bombing attack. Erica considers infiltrating the gathering in civilian clothing, believing she could learn more about the enemy unit from inside. Sylvia rejects the idea, pointing out that Erica knows little about Western customs. Even though the Entente and Schmalkalden use related forms of Gothic, Schmalkalden's version has been heavily modified by Entente influence and contains numerous loanwords, making communication difficult enough to expose Erica's identity. The scene changes back to the town's streets. A large convoy of martyr IFVs moves through the town. The team observes that the nearest formation appears to be a battalion-sized force equipped with a large number of martyrs. Another column can be seen farther away, although its composition is difficult to determine. Based on the formation and vehicle types, Julius identifies the unit as likely being the 82nd Panzer Grenadier Battalion. Erica recalls the latest intelligence available before the mission. The 6th Panzer Brigade had recently been reinforced with 3 TPV Fuchs APCs, equipped for nuclear, biological, and chemical reconnaissance. The brigade also had only 1 Grenadier Battalion equipped with large numbers of martyr IFVs, making the 82nd Battalion the most likely match. The warrant officer adds that the formation appears to have been reinforced by 2 platoons of Leopard 2 tanks. Their markings have been concealed, but the vehicles appear to be early Leopard 2 models, possibly belonging to a company from the 83rd Panzer Battalion. Julius concludes that the presence of NBC reconnaissance vehicles, radioactive area equipment, additional tanks, and concealed tactical markings indicates that the Entente has been preparing the formation for a major operation for some time. However, the unit's current marching formation suggests that it has not yet fully deployed, making its ultimate objective difficult to determine. Suddenly, a smoking A-10 flies over the town at extremely low altitude. Erica believes that its condition indicates an enemy airfield must be nearby. The warrant officer disagrees, explaining that the Entente would not normally establish an airbase within the operational range of Union tactical missiles because it would be too vulnerable to attack. Julius proposes that the aircraft may have landed at a temporary emergency airfield. He explains that pilots are normally given possible emergency landing locations before missions, although most Entente aircraft are not capable of operating from primitive airstrips. The warrant officer reminds them not to overload themselves with unnecessary objectives and orders the team to remain focused on their primary mission. The team attempts to use the BRM-1K's radio, but it remains completely inoperative. Hannah concludes that the earlier nuclear blast likely damaged the vehicle's internal electronics and that replacement components will be required. The problem is that they are now deep behind enemy lines, with no friendly units nearby capable of supplying spare parts. Erica proposes obtaining the necessary components by raiding an enemy position. Julius agrees and decides that they will rely on the map and compass, which survived the electromagnetic disruption. Their current position is not far from the town of Dorfstein. Sylvia has never visited Dorfstein but recognizes the town from travel guides. She recalls that its traditional beer, produced at the White Monastery, is famous throughout the region. According to the guides, the town has only a small police station. However, the Schmalkalden police are reservists who would be mobilized as regular troops during wartime, meaning they may already have military weapons and could present a serious threat. Julius then asks the warrant officer to reveal the actual objective of the 501st LRRP's mission. The warrant officer agrees. The team learns that their orders are classified as top military secrets, and unauthorized disclosure would result in a wartime disciplinary trial. Their true mission is to locate and meet an MFV agent operating undercover in Schmalkalden under the codename Aloy. The team is to assist her in scouting and identifying new experimental Entente weapons. The revelation leads the team into a discussion about the growing threat of nuclear war. Hannah expresses anger toward the Entente and wants revenge for the threat against their homeland. Sylvia is more concerned about the consequences of a nuclear conflict, warning that a war on Earth could also endanger Nox. Erica takes a more optimistic, but unsettling, position. She argues that if Earth were devastated, Nox could potentially become a refuge for their surviving Earth comrades and serve as the foundation of a future interstellar civilization. Sylvia questions whether such a civilization could truly be justified if its origins were built upon the destruction of Earth. The team eventually prepares to approach a small Schmalkalden town. The warrant officer believes that most of the local reservists have probably already been mobilized to the front, especially given the Entente's preparations for Operation Solar Flare and the commitment of most of its forces to the operation. Julius accepts the reasoning but warns that their assumptions may be too simplistic. Their concerns are soon proven correct. While approaching their hiding position, the team discovers a group of Schmalkalden border guards conducting a search nearby. The patrol may have detected signs of their presence and appears to be searching the area as part of a routine security operation. Julius decides that allowing the patrol to continue would risk exposing the 501st LRRP. He orders the team to lure the border guards toward the forest and eliminate them before they can report their position. Erica acknowledges the order as the team prepares to move against the approaching patrol. The scene ends with the 501st LRRP preparing to intercept the Schmalkalden border guards. After the Entente convoy passes through the town, most civilians remain unaware that fighting occurred nearby. A lone reconnaissance vehicle then drives through the town from the opposite direction, making several locals suspicious. The civilians initially assume the vehicle belongs to the Entente forces, believing their armies have advanced deep into Union territory and that the town is safely behind the front lines. However, one passerby notices that the vehicle is traveling west instead of south, where the Vespuccian forces are supposedly stationed. This raises doubts about its identity. The others dismiss the concern, joking that the soldiers might be under the influence of drugs and deciding it would be safer to stay away from them. The 501st LRRP hides their BRM-1K in an alley after passing through the town. Julius tries to use their radio, but it's still damaged, so they need spare parts. Erica suggests to ask one of the female civilian who's alone on that area, and maybe she could get radio parts. But Sylvia's still concerned about how Erica's gonna get her to speak, since they don't share the same language. Erica confused as she thinks both are compatriot of the same race and culture. Sylvia then tries to explain again that Schmalkalden Gothic language has been altered by Entente for decades, borrowing different Angles language words and usage. Then Erica tries to pretend to be in Vespuccian army, but Sylvia asks back if she can speak Anglo as fluently as Vespuccian. Then warrant officer going to take that job, claiming to be a Dominion of Vinland soldier that speaks Gothic. After all, he's a foreigner, and most of the local people here have never seen the Dominion Legion. Julius then lets warrant officer go and fish for information, and Sylvia are going to accompany warrant officer since she's quite familiar with the local customs and way of life in Schmalkalden. Then Erica mock her since she secretly listened to Radio Free Europe in the middle of the night, and Sylvia answer it that it is not the time for a joke like that. After that conversation, Sylvia and the warrant officer strode along, doing their best to project the air of being in friendly occupied territory. Warrant officer tries to introduce himself as the Vinland Dominion Legion and an ally of Schmalkalden and seeking assistance. The civilians didn't expect a visitor from Vinland and were surprised with their accent. Sylvia tries to convince her to help the radio equipment has malfunctioned on the command vehicle, and she agrees, and also want to take a look at the vehicle. When they arrive on the alley, she is confused that the Vinland military's tanks are this tiny, while Sylvia responds saying that this is a reconnaissance unit, and naturally, it needs to be smaller so it isn't easily spotted by the enemy. But that makes him more and more suspicious. She says that all the multinational forces are heading east, and why are you the only ones heading west? Sylvia tried to counter this, saying that this friendly force from Vinland has very important information to report to the senior commanders of the multinational forces. But get countered back by saying that there happens to be a retreating Vespuccian army unit in the town just behind us, the 13th Cavalry Regiment, and she wonders if they're high-ranking enough. Sylvia trying to make another excuse, but warrant officers stop her and ask whose is this civilian really is. She reveals herself as Alloy, the one that warrant officer been looking for. The scene changes to the back of a house. The 501st and Alloy can be seen. Alloy says that barging in like this shows incredible audacity, and say to warrant office Revan more reckless than NIS agents. Then Alloy asked about, what's the plan? Warrant Officer says that they need parts to repair the radio and they have gathered intelligence on enemy reserves and must report it to headquarters immediately. Alloy will find a way to help them obtain the equipment needed for the report. But from this moment, they must prioritize assisting me with a more important mission. Julius agrees, but only if Alloy's task is truly more important, and she wants more explanation about it. Alloy then starts to explain the mission that last night, the multinational force, plagued by various malfunctions, barely managed to fly to a location in the northern forest, where they immediately decelerated and landed. The Warrant Office says that they have also noted the presence of some enemy airfields, but cannot determine their exact locations. Alloy then continued to explain that there was also a battle-worn Vespuccian Brigadier General staying at the town inn. He paid special attention to the details of this lifting operation over the phone. Clearly, it was no ordinary lift. Then a sleek black helicopter can be seen traversing across the screen. Alloy says that this is a brand new helicopter. Sylvia and Warrant Officer think it's the latest Longbow Apache equipped with a millimeter wave radar, and told Alloy to stop keeping us in suspense since, according to the intelligence we have on the enemy, the most advanced attack helicopter in the Entente arsenal is the AH-64D Longbow Apache. Erica then says that, fortunately, we have enough anti-aircraft firepower to protect the tanks. But the Warrant Officer then thinks, what if it's a helicopter that's invisible to radar? And how can anti-aircraft missiles protect tanks then? Erica then says that can't be right, and it doesn't conform to scientific principle. But Sylvia explained that this is scientific, and Erica just don't know it, since it's on the book, Journal of Radio Engineering of the Entente Academy of Sciences, and says that invisibility in radar waves is entirely possible, and it's a completely public publication. Warrant Officer then says that Sylvia was right. That was an experimental aircraft codenamed LHX, Light Helicopter Experimental, which utilized the stealth principle we discovered. And if it passes inspection, it will soon be officially named Comanche. Then Warrant Officer asked Alloy about the reason that previous place landed there. She said that perhaps it was damaged by an electromagnetic pulse during a live fire test and forced to land there. And the reason it is so close to the front line is that during the last World War, the Third Reich built numerous secret airfields to evade strategic bombing and to test new aircraft. These airfields were abandoned after the war because they were too close to the front lines. Their length is also unsuitable for takeoff and landing of jet fighters, but with some cleaning, they can be used as airfields for helicopters or attack aircraft. Moreover, it's very well concealed, making it ideal for testing weapons. Warrant Officer says this explains why the A-10 also made an emergency landing nearby. It seems we need to conduct thorough reconnaissance of this area. According to the intelligence that Alloy has, the enemy is conducting live fire experiments here, with a large-scale experimental team, including military and factory personnel. The Warrant Officer continues, saying that if we destroy it, we can prevent the enemy from collecting data, thus greatly delaying the development of this weapon. Alloy also says that there are probably more than that. A large number of military and defense industry technicians are also located near the test site. If they can find an opportunity to eliminate all of these people, we can solve the problem once and for all. The enemy will forever lose everything they have invested in this model. Alloy then talks regarding restoring communications. Perhaps we can find the M&F radios used by the Entente aircraft at the airport. Julius then thinks, if such helicopters are so valuable, the airport must be heavily protected. It could be a garrison battalion of the Defense Force, a border guard post, or even a regular army of a multinational force. The Warrant Officer then questioned how to find the airport, since they saw the A-10 lower its landing gear and speed brakes and turn northwest. They can spend a day or two traversing the forest to search, which will be less efficient. Alloy says that she has a special device that allows for non-contact eavesdropping. It's a high-end device that was used in Berlin's Golden Plan, and they try to activate it to find the information. When the device is activated, they can hear the enemy personnel at the airbase and learn about their problems. The soldiers complain about fuel shortages, an A-10 pilot who disrupted their testing program, and experimental weapons that can mistakenly target friendly forces. They reveal that the A-10 requires a temporary transponder to prevent the new helicopters under testing from attacking it. Hannah learns that these helicopters use a highly automated combat system capable of searching for and attacking targets with little pilot intervention. The warrant officer realizes that the helicopter's IFF system may be incompatible with other forces, and that obtaining the transponder could potentially provide a way to interfere with or prevent their attacks. And after that, all of them soon move to identify the airport in the forest.